Daniel lay on a haystack under the vast night sky, his eyes filled with wonder as he gazed at the stars. They shimmered like distant dreams, and he longed to reach them. But reality was different. His home was a small mud and straw hut, barely lit by a dim lantern. Life was hard, and dreams felt distant. Every morning, Daniel helped his father toil in the fields under the scorching sun. His hands were calloused, his back sore, but his heart held a silent yearning. As he worked, he often watched other children in crisp uniforms heading to school. He wanted to be among them, to hold books instead of crops. But poverty had shackled him. One evening, as he sat under the old banyan tree, a wise elder approached him. The man handed him a small clay pot and said, "Fill this with water from the river and bring it back without spilling a drop. If you succeed, you'll understand the secret to achieving dreams." Determined, Daniel set out. He filled the pot, and as he walked, the village children laughed at him, pointing at the simple clay vessel. Some villagers whispered doubts, shaking their heads, but Daniel ignored them, carefully balancing the pot. The scorching sun made sweat drip down his forehead, but he pressed on. At last, he reached the elder, the pot still full. The elder smiled, his eyes filled with approval. "This pot is your dream. People will laugh, doubt, and the journey will be hard. But if you stay focused and determined, you will succeed." That night, under the flickering glow of an oil lamp, Daniel picked up old, tattered books and began studying. By day, he worked relentlessly, helping the blacksmith, carrying sacks of grain, assisting merchants, anything to afford his education. Failure met him often. There were times he sat amidst scattered papers, head in hands. But his eyes never lost their fire. One day, he stood on a wooden crate in the village square and spoke to a small crowd about dreams and determination. At first, they mocked him, but he did not stop. He sketched ideas on cloth, lost in thought, and soon he built his first small business, a modest wooden shop selling handmade goods. Just when success seemed near, a storm destroyed his shop. But Daniel did not break. He rebuilt. He learned. He grew. His resilience caught the attention of a wealthy businessman who saw potential in him. With a firm handshake, Daniel stepped into a world of greater possibilities. Years passed, and the young boy who once carried a clay pot now stood in a grand office, dressed in fine clothes, gazing at the same stars he once dreamed under. Success had found him, but he had never forgotten his journey. One evening, a young boy sat under the same banyan tree, eyes filled with longing. Daniel approached him, smiled, and handed him a small clay pot. "Fill this with water, and bring it back without spilling a drop." Because dreams, like clay pots, are fragile, but with determination, they can be carried to greatness.